What is up? Let's do your weekly channel, a little bit more of a long form channel that looks at the energies of the week and provides information for your highest and best good, inviting angels, ancestors, and spirit to surround us now and provide this message. So, this message is provided by a very famous, while on this plane, celebrity. And he provided the message for my daily channel that I share in TikTok. And he also is going to do the one for the tube, which I think is fabulous. He's providing some context about why he wishes to remain anonymous. This person, when they were famous, was very reluctantly famous. They were in a very famous rock band in the 90s. And there was a lot made out of this person and their persona. And this always deeply upset the person. So, like, you know how you can tell with celebrities, they're like, I really just wish I wasn't famous. That's not this. This was like, this person was so shy, and the limelight was just, he's like, it's an interesting contrast for me to be such a public person and to be such a hermit. This person, like, the hermitage and hermiting just keeps coming up in their life, is like, this was just such a large part of who they were, and to be thrust in the limelight was very confusing, very upsetting. And he says it seemed to magnify all the things in my life I didn't like. It made all of it worse. So he is using this perspective as a metaphor for what's going on right now, the change that many people are experiencing right now in their lives. And he's saying, looking back now at my life and that moment when I was thrust into the limelight, many people feel the same way. It's not that we all feel like we're being famous. It's that we feel like all parts of ourselves we don't like are being magnified. And that's why he's bringing forth this message, because he's saying, like, I know now that that was the best thing that ever could have happened to me, because it woke me and showed me the areas of my life that I needed to learn and grow from. Now, ultimately, these were the things that ultimately caused him to transition, right? But he also is telling me that that was sort of part of his path too. Even if the worst thing happens, it can be the best thing for you, because the learning doesn't end while you're just in the body. He's just showing this look back at his life, that and all this work that he's doing now. This person passed for like, it's been a while. It's been a minute, right? This was the 90s. So it's been a minute since he passed, and he's just making me feel like I'm still looking back. I'm still learning from what happened. And you all, because you're incarnated now, don't have to wait until you're in spirit to look back. You don't have to wait till you're in spirit to learn. You can do this now. So he's like, I've been thinking about this, and I have a recipe for you all. Recipe number one is, he's like, never fight or resist what's happening to you. And he acknowledges that this is very hard to do. He's showing me when he first got famous, the overwhelming sense of his privacy being invaded, and the overwhelming sense of, like, people, he's just showing people as like leeches. Like, he got this sense that, like, people wanted something from him, and it immediately triggered him, because this is someone who is, again, so deeply shy, and the sense that people wanted something from him was just like so off-putting, right? So he's making me understand that, like, this was a fear of his that he saw manifested. He manifested this experience to learn from it. So he's like, if you are in a situation where you feel similarly about, like, oh, I'm walking into this situation, it's the worst thing that could happen. Maybe you've got a return to office mandate, or maybe you lost your job, or whatever. Like, maybe this terrible thing has happened to you. He's like, the first thing that you do is pretend it's happening to somebody else and not you. He's like, give yourself some distance from what is occurring. He's like, it might seem like you've got your head in the clouds. People might tell you you're not being realistic. He's like, let them say what they say. Pretend it's not happening to you. He's like, think of how you would comfort a person going through what you're going through. Think of the ways that you would look at their situation as opportunities. It always comes from not you, right? When a friend of mine lost their job, I was like, well, you didn't seem happy in that job, right? And it was like, it took them a minute to sort of get like, I'm not. Like, well, this is sort of a good opportunity, right? To like, so like, that sense of perspective is really hard to have when you're you, because you just immediately react to your own hopes, fears, and all the things, right? So the first thing he's recommending is like, pretend it didn't happen to you. Pretend it's happening to a really close friend of yours, your spouse, your child, your sister, your brother. He's like, just do some displacement first. And he's like, and after the displacement happens, he's like, start thinking of this as an opportunity. And he's like, don't, which is what I'm doing now. So he's giving me advice in this too. He's like, don't think of the situation in the context of the boundaries or what you think is possible. So let's use the return to office mandate as sort of like and he's calling me out here because I've definitely been in this boat. He's like, so you receive a return to office mandate, right? You work in the private sector and you've moved really far away and you're thinking to yourself, how am I going to do this? He's like, no. He's like, what you do is this. Think to yourself of all the opportunities and all the things that you get by going back to work. He's like, think of the people that you're going to meet. Think of the conversations you're going to have. Think of the networking that you'll get accomplished. Think of all the reading you'll do on the bus. He's just showing like, don't think obsessively about your commute. I'm totally guilty of this. Don't obsessively think about like, well, what about, don't think of the things you think you're going to lose. He's like, because then you will lose them. He's like, by thinking and projecting all the things you don't want to happen, those things will occur. And he's using his life as an example. He's like, it happened to me. This thing I feared so much became my reality because I was not able to have separation. So he's like, encourage yourself to have a sense of separation from what is going on. And then so that's step number 1. Step number 2, get excited about what the opportunity might present you. Not focusing on the areas of what you don't want, what you do. So he's using the same example. So say, again, I have to commute into an office and I live really far away. And instead of freaking out about my long commute and what this is going to impact my family, instead I'm going to think about like, you know what though, I've always really wanted to be an author. I think I'm going to use the time I have now to think about the book. And you know what I mean? He's like, let it inspire you. And he's like, if you don't know what you want, then ask what you want and wait for that thing. Wait for yourself to get like little nudges. Because he's just showing there's going to be so much change that's happening. It's going to feel like he's just showing me like when you take a towel and you shake the towel and the whole thing is like rippling. He's like, all society will feel like this. Everyone's going to feel like they've been shaken, right? And when that happens, he's so cute. He's like, when you shake stuff comes up in the air and you're like, maybe this, maybe this, maybe that. He's like, use the chaos for your best advantage. Use the chaos to give yourself ideas. Use the chaos. He's like, what we don't want to do is focus so much on the thing. It becomes the biggest thing in your mind and the only thing that you experience. So the third thing that he's recommending is allow the process to refine itself. And this is the message that is such a comforting message, right? He's like, you don't have to do anything. All you do is allow what is to step forward for you. Oh, he's like, what is for you is for you. No one can take it away. It makes me emotional because like you can feel the love he has for humanity. And this love was really portrayed through his music. It was the language he knew how to talk to humanity, to people. And he's just making me feel like you don't have to do anything. You don't have to stress out. You don't have to freak out. You don't have to worry. He's just like, whatever is for you is for you. And if you allow yourself to be calm through this process, he's like, when you're being shaken, to be rigid is the stupidest thing, right? It's like, think of it, he's showing me a tree in a storm. It's just like flowing, right? Or a buoy in the ocean. It's just bobbing along. So he's like, the more flexible you can be, the more opportunity you'll see in the things that get shaken up and the more that you can pull it out. But it won't feel like a grind. He's like, if it feels like a grind, you're doing it wrong. He's like, if it feels like a grind, you're doing it wrong. He's like, pay attention to how you feel when you do certain things. That will be how you search out the next thing. So he wants to talk a little bit about the state of humanity. And he's showing a very dark room and someone sort of feeling around in the dark room. This is us. This is us. We can't see what's coming. So it's completely dark. And he's like, we haven't thought yet to turn on the light. The light is inner being and inner guidance. So instead of turning that light on, we continue to grapple, fall over obstacles that we can't see, shove someone back that's in our space, because we're all in this dark room together. And he's like, one by one, people's consciousness will be turned on. And the more people who turn on their consciousness, it's like he's making me feel like it's like a little light that goes on inside of you. And then when one person's light goes on, another one's goes on, and maybe another person's goes on, and then all of a sudden everyone starts to see better. So he's like, you want to help, you want to improve things, seek your inner guidance first, seek that inner light of joy and happiness. And as you light yourself up, you contribute to people in the room being able to see better. It's just how it works. He's like, it's just, think of yourself as a little socket of electricity. People aren't pulling from your socket, but you're providing an opportunity to glow out. And as you glow out, that glow falls on other people in other places and situations, and they're able to use it for themselves, and the whole room gets a little bit lighter. Okay, so I want to thank him for this message, and I want to ask, what do we get if we adopt these changes? And to summarize, the changes sound like, one, giving ourselves a little bit of distance from what's going on, like having that separation, pretend it's happening to somebody else, look at it from a different outside perspective and sort of see how we feel about it. The second is to not get bogged down in what we lose, only focus on the opportunity. And the third is just the sense of flexibility. Be open, be loose, find joy in your life, and allow that light inside to be lit up and glow up. Glow up as high and as big as you can possibly handle and manage, and you'll see people glowing up beside you. So what do we get if we do all of these things? He's showing the view and the light in the room getting lighter and lighter. And once people see it's lighter, they ask themselves why they're in this dark room. And they ask themselves, well, there's a door right there. Maybe we just stay outside all the time. Why are we in this dark room together? So he's showing it is very important for the evolution of humanity, to understand how to live in line with God, and how to live in line with Source, and how to live sort of like with each other and with the entire world in a way that's not constructed. The room is a metaphor for life and how we commonly live life. And when you exit the room and you're in the real world, there's no separation. There's no veil that separates what is and the construction that we've made. So he's showing these changes as very beneficial and very necessary for the evolution of humanity. I can't think of a better message to receive. I really want to thank this entity for stepping forward. I will absolutely respect their need for anonymity. And he's such a gentle, shy, sweet soul. And even though you think these people come and they pass and like fall away, no one really falls away. I mean, he's just very, very, very interested, and he's a helpful spirit, and he's a gentle artist, and he's here to help people live their dreams. And it has less to do with being famous, and it has more to do with like just living in a creative spirit in line with Source. That's what it feels like to me. Hope you enjoyed this daily channel. I will catch you next week. Subscribe if you like these, and we'll talk soon.